Uhuru. Free the land. 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 I want to say, first of all, I bring all of you warm and revolutionary greetings from the New African People's Organization, the Malcolm X Graduate Movement, and our families. All of us. We're glad to be here. And this is a very important discussion. And we have a very beautiful audience here. Give yourself a round of applause. I want to congratulate the African People's Socialist Party and the Uhuru movement for bringing us together. This symposium is a wonderful idea. And many times that I can look into the audience and see the faces of a whole lot of folks that don't have gray hair, then I'm really feeling good. All right. But this is movement. This is improvement. This is important. This is critical. I believe that as we speak to the question of the battle of the bullet in 2008, this 2008.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
No.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks a lot, brother. This is a little better. Okay. I think as we speak to this in 2008, you have to, excuse me, I have to ask what the year is. Sometimes I have to ask what the century is, right? Because the same things seem to happen over and over again. Right? We have this basic problem. The basic problem is imperialism. The basic problem is white supremacy. The basic problem is the form that takes when they colonize us. Yes. Our basic problem is not that we don't have certain colored people in the White House, right? Our basic problem is not that we don't have certain colored people in the mayorship. The problem is the structure, the system. And that's the problem. And until we solve the problem, then all we do is address band-aids to the problem.
Yes.
And so when we enter this discussion, we have to enter with the same clarity that Malcolm had when he raised the question in the first place, the ballot of the bullet.
Yes.
Malcolm never suggested that the ballot was going to really free us. What Malcolm was saying that the ballot, we need to understand, he used the discussion to help clarify the problem. Because in the discussion, he talked about colonialism. He talked about we were facing the same hell in America that our brothers and sisters were facing in Africa and elsewhere. He talked about how tricky the system was. Yes. How you could have so-called Democrats in the White House and Democrats in the Congress. In fact, most of the Congress and most of the White House was Democrats. Right. He said, how is it that we put these people in office, these people are supposed to be our friends, and at the same time our problem gets worse than it's ever been before? How you gonna have Dixiecrats who are Democrats? And so Malcolm, in a brilliant presentation, was able to raise our consciousness and also raise our enthusiasm and encourage us on to victory. Because in that presentation, if you haven't heard it, the ballot to the bullet, then you should listen to it. He talks about the power of the people. He reemphasizes how really white supremacy and imperialism and colonialism is at the mercy of the populations of the world. Yes. He says that America couldn't even beat some little people over in Vietnam. That's what he tells us, right? He tells us how the Vietnamese beat up on America, big bully America, how they beat them up. And how he encouraged us, and he said that America was about, that when it came to a real war, a ground war, a war on the ground, man on man and woman on woman, then America was a system, right? That's what he said. That America had to back down, had to chump out, you see what I'm saying? And so this is what Malcolm did in that presentation. So Malcolm was doing two things, and we should be informed by this as we approach this question of Barack Obama in 2008. On one hand, he was giving us some ideological clarity. He was saying that really don't make any difference of who you vote for in America, you still got a problem until you solve your American problem. That's what he was telling us. He was saying that you vote for Democrats and their friends with Dixiecrats. That's what he said. In fact, Dixiecrats were Democrats. They were the same people. And he says that you all doing all this voting, doing all this sweating in your community, and you still got people who are betraying you, the same people you're voting for. And the people that you're voting for are supposed to be better than the people that you aren't voting for. So if that's the case, then you got a problem voting for anybody in the system. That's basically what he was saying. But then Malcolm also not only addressed with clarity our problem of confronting imperialism, he addressed with clarity the fact that you had to have a step-by-step approach to overcoming and defeating imperialism, to winning self-determination. So what Malcolm encouraged us to do, really, in the Ballot of the Bullet, he said that we must be nationalists. What we have to do, Malcolm said, is that we have to go into our communities, and in our communities we have to take over that which is ours. We have to take over the stores. He said economic nationalism, that's what he called it. And then he talked about educational and social nationalism. We had to take it over. And he talked about political nationalism. He said the process of nationalism in political terms was to go into our communities and to begin to elect our people ourselves. In other words, to take over the community. Not to be so focused on who the United States president was, but then to build some solidarity in the community by electing our own people. Now, Malcolm was smart enough to know that you electing a knuckleheaded mayor was not ultimately going to win you some freedom, right? And if he wasn't smart enough, if you weren't smart enough to know it then certainly in 2008 you know what we're talking about. He knew that there was contradictions even in the system of voting for the mayor or voting for some kind of representative who you thought was going to represent you. Because he knew that essentially the system cannot accommodate anybody inside of it that's talking about revolutionary change. That's right. You can't talk power out of giving to give you some power. You can't buy freedom, you can't buy power. Neither freedom or power are ever for sale. Yeah. People who have them don't sell them, right? And so this is what we knew. Yeah. Malcolm knew this, but he had to engage you into a political experience, thinking that he had educated some people on the ground who would begin to raise our consciousness, and he was right. So as Malcolm delivered those great orations, then later on what we begin to grow, even at his death, is what we call the Black Power movement, right? Yeah. Black Power, right? Yeah. Black Power, right? The Black Power movement. And in the Black Power movement, we begin to grow the Black Liberation movement. Yeah. And we begin to understand power. We begin to understand that power is not something that you can borrow. Power is not something you can use of somebody else. We begin to understand that no two powers can occupy the same space at the same time, right? And so that's the principle that we understand. So if somebody else is occupying it, you can't occupy it. And you cannot occupy the same space with a white supremacist. You can't occupy the same space with people who want to go over and kill people in Iraq, who want to drop bombs in Africa, who want to tell you who can be the president of Zimbabwe. You can't occupy a space with people like that. You can't occupy a space with the same people that brought you here in slavery in the first place. There's a fundamental contradiction between the power that they exercise and the power that you exercise. You can't occupy the same space with people who put the Indians in small plot blankets and sent them on the trail of tears. You can't do that. And so what it becomes is a question of how you get power. Yes. Our people understand it. We understand it. And interestingly enough, this is why our people are all involved in the Barack Obama campaign. Anytime you show our people anything which looks like a chance to get some power, they'll go for it, right? So look, Barack Obama is great theater. This is great theater. I can't stop watching CNN, I'm telling you, right? This is wonderful theater, right? And so our people are caught up in this theater because they feel, or they hope, they pray, they really don't believe it, but they think, they want to believe that somehow or another by voting for Barack Obama, this is some way to get this self-determination, this exercise of power that we've been denied, right? Yeah. Our people, that's why they vote for these knuckleheaded mayors. That's why they do it, right? All over we got knuckleheaded mayors. You point to a city that's black, you got a black mayor, probably they're a knucklehead mayor, am I right? Now I don't know about your city. I just know about the city I live in. But if you live in the city that I live in, like the city I live in, we live in Jackson, Mississippi. And in Jackson, Mississippi, we're the third, I think, largest percentage black population of cities over 100,000. We look at Detroit and Garrett, right? Well, Detroit and Garrett used to be Washington, D.C. Used to call Washington, D.C. the chocolate city, didn't it? I don't know, what do you call it? Semi-chocolate now or something like that? A little bit out of flavor chocolate, right? A little vanilla chocolate, right? Because what they're doing is demonstrating why no two powers can occupy the same space at the same time. If they occupy power here, they're not going to let you occupy power here. And so that's why gentrification is in effect. That's why Katrina has eliminated the Africans from that city. And that's why power of the enemy is putting people in place that will forever deprive Africans of that population of power in New Orleans if we let it happen. That's why it's going on. And so what we get out of these great lessons from Malcolm is not only an approach to thinking, but a process for change. The process for change says, as we engaged in it here in 2008, we know Barack Obama ain't going to change our lives. We know this. Come on, give me one of that now. We know this. I mean, we know this. I mean, that's like saying that if you own the plantation, as long as you get a black overseer, you'll be all right, right? You understand what I'm saying? The problem is not in the person. The problem is in the system. How are you going to run a plantation which is going to make you free, right? The nature of a plantation is to enslave. The nature of America is to oppress. And we start, and you know, Reagan came with it first. And now you even hear it echoed in Barack Obama's speeches. Now, Barack is slick now. Barack is slick. I'm telling you, the boy is slick. I mean, I'm telling you, he's packaged. He's a package deal. He's a package deal. In fact, you know what make you look at him when he comes on CNN? CNN, he got a little bit of you in him. That's right. Stole a little bit of our thunder. That's what he did. So when he gets up there, you know, like Malcolm used to, you get in the rhythm, and Malcolm says, well, you're not getting your butt whipped because you a Baptist. You don't get whooped because you're a Christian. You don't get whooped because you are a Muslim. You get whooped because you're black, right? That's what he said. Barack Obama said, well, there's no red states. There's no blue states. There's just the United States, right? Stole your thunder. That's what he did. He gets up there and he approaches and he starts talking like us. You can't organize from the top down. You got to organize from the bottom up, right? That's what he said, right? Brock said he almost gave himself away one day. He's up there talking and he said, well, you know, oh yeah, this old system is trying to fool us. It's trying to, it might bamboozle you, right? Now you wait. Fox News is going to play back that old Malcolm X speech, right? So Barack, he coming with it, right? But of course, he's just using the trapping. He can't use the substance and not be president of the United States. You can't use the substance. How you gonna do it, right? And you can't do it. And so that's why you got the Reverend Wright problem. Talking about Reverend Wright. I heard Reverend Wright. I said Reverend Wright for president, right? That was my thing. President of the African nation, right? But this was it. Because Reverend Wright spoke the truth. But Barack Obama and his comrades, you know, those of his folks, his corporation, right? The corporate politics that he's involved in, they understand. They understand that you can't run a plantation and start talking about freeing the slaves. How you gonna run a plantation and talk about freeing the slaves? That's an oxymoron, right? That's a contradiction. You can't do it. And so he can't come in there, and a lot of folks going around complaining about Barack Obama, acting like there's really something just wrong with him, why he shouldn't be president. I mean, you know, some of them are supposed to be revolutionary. I'm telling you. They go around talking about, well, why doesn't he raise the issues? Well, if he raised the issues, he can't win, right? I mean, that's simple, right? I mean, how do you go raise the issues and win? I mean, all he did was sit in a pew for 20 years and he came, and they got their questions, right? I mean, am I right? Yeah. I mean, you know, what are you talking about? But Brock gets up there and starts, and he starts fooling. You got to be careful. Because you get caught up in this theater, and even your mind will go adrift sometime. Because that speech is good. He starts talking. You hear a little bit of yes, you telling him, right? Okay. A little bit of X in him, right? Okay. A little bit of Farrakhan. And you get all caught up in it. Because he's been listening to these folks for years. Right? This is what he's been doing. And so old Brock gets up there and starts talking about, great America and all that kind of stuff. You know, it reminds you of Reagan talking about he's going to bring back America the way it used to be, right? Now, what year in America do you want to go back to? What has America ever offered you, right?
That's right.
I mean, where? I mean, what slavery? 100 years of lynching? Rodney King?
Yes.
Michael Stewart?
Yes.
Where do we want to go? There is no year. The best years you had in America is when you've been fighting, right? That's the best thing you've done in America. The rebellions of the 60s, that's what was good about America, right? Because everything that they classify as being an accomplishment in America is something we did.
That's right.
And that they tried to water down. Everything that they talk about how now we got Africans going to white schools. Like they just let us walk in, right? Like we didn't have to break the doors down. And they talk about all the heroes, the pilgrims, and then you see that's slick.
Yeah.
How in the hell are you going to put the pilgrims with the brothers and sisters that fought the civil rights? I mean, what is the relationship there? Pilgrims the pilgrims were imperialists. That's what they were. I mean, just like they talk to you in school, you know what an imperialist is because they teach you. They talked about Rome. You remember Rome? Yes. Folks left a little city and started taking over the whole world, right? They didn't really take over the whole world, but you know what I mean. They little small-minded concept of the world. The British, they left an island and took over the world. The Pilgrims didn't even have an island, didn't even have a city. They jumped off the ship, right? And started taking people's land. Now, how you going to compare them to the civil rights? How you going to compare them to people fighting for their fundamental rights? How you going to do that? So what they do is, of course, you got to be careful. You got to be careful because the message they bring is a polluted message.
Yes.
It's meant to tamper with the minds of our people. But now, we are revolutionaries.
Yes.
This is what we are.
That's right.
This is what we need to be.
Yes.
Because see, we are the authors of change.
Yes.
We understand change.
Yes.
And we understand what is not change. We understand that this so-called incremental freedom is no freedom at all.
Yes.
We understand that there's no such thing as, well, a little bit freer than yesterday's freedom, right?
Yes.
Don't be free, someday freedom.
Yes.
We'll get there when we can freedom.
Yes.
Either you free or you're not. That's what we understand. This is what we understand. And as the authors of change, where we stand is either we have everything or, like Malcolm says, that nobody has nothing, right? That's how serious it is.
Yes.
This is your children at stake. We used to talk about when genocide is coming. You know genocide is here.
Yes.
And it would take too long up here now, and this is not the purpose of this speech, but just think about it. Your whole surroundings are in incursion with genocide. The whole so-called criminal justice system.
Yes.
There's nothing genocide. They put your people in prison. In fact, they made putting people in prison a fundamental necessary part of the American economy. They can't live without it. America incarcerates more people than any other country in the world. And then got the nerve to go around and talk about Cuba. Got the nerve to talk about Libya. Got the nerve to talk about anybody in the world. They incarcerate more people than anybody. Now how in the hell are you going to be the home of freedom and at the same time you got more people behind bars than anywhere in the world? That's what Barack Obama's running for.
That's what it's running for.
And I'm not mad at Barack Obama. I like Barack Obama. Don't print that. But I mean, you know, Barack is kind of like our lost son, right? I mean, he's way gone, all right? I mean, I don't expect to get him back, right? But it's not because he's a bad person. He understands what I'm talking about. He understands. He ain't no fool. You can't be in Reverend Wright's church for 20 years and not understand what I'm talking about. But he has a different approach. And his approach is the Jesse Jackson approach or the Al Sharpton approach. And I hope I ain't hurt nobody's feelings. I mean, you know, he's a more sophisticated, much better done social democrat. Much more attractive social democrat. I mean, you get tired of the old models, and he's a new model, right? He's a new model social democrat. And that's good because, see, on one hand, and you should cherish this. See, you want to see your people be encouraged. You just got to understand as a revolutionary that it's important for you to insert yourself in the process and make sure that the encouragement doesn't lead them astray, right? See, often imperialism will create its seeds of destruction.
Indeed.
It will raise issues which will ultimately bring it down.
Oh, yes.
Let me tell you that it wasn't in the 50s when Emmett Till was killed that our movement really popped up. Now, everybody that was in that movement later on, you ask them what they remember, and they will say Emmett Till. But it wasn't Emmett Till that brought them to action. What brought them to action was action, right?
That's right.
When Rosa took action, they took action.
That's right.
When we took action in Detroit, then y'all took action, right?
That's right.
When they took action out in Watson, New York, our people were proud of what they did.
That's right.
They go around talking about the rebellion for a bad time. The rebellion was the best time we ever had, right? I'm telling you. And not just because we got a TV set or got something from the old Zionists down at the pawn store who had took it from us. Not just because of that, but because we felt like we had addressed the problem, right? Now, we didn't know that that was the complete solution, and it wasn't. But at least it was addressing the problem. And that was at a time when things were supposed to be better for us. Remember old Lyndon B. and the so-called Great Society? Was that what he had? The Great Society program. I mean, they was giving out a little poverty program here. They had allowed me to get in law school. You imagine that? I mean, they had opened the door so a whole lot of people like me got in law school. Very difficult for people like me to get in law school now. They're very careful. They're a lot more careful than they used to be. They're a lot more careful than they used to be. But this was something that had happened. That our people begin to see how struggle at least brought some reaction.
Yes.
Our people became encouraged by the fact that motion produced motion and appeared to have an effect. When Emmett got killed in Mississippi, that was just drama. That was trauma. That's what that was. So in many instances, that paralyzed our people. It paralyzed them. The same way that Katrina has paralyzed our brothers and sisters on the Gulf Coast. We've been down there organizing and organizing and organizing. And when we turn around, we see people who said, Brother Chokwe, I don't have no house. I don't have no job. I can't feed my family. I cannot live. It's hard to make a motion out of people who are traumatized and paralyzed. But that's our job. If we're revolutionaries, if we belong to these organizations, then that's what we do. You understand? That's what we do. We don't just deal with the job when it's easy, we deal with the job when it's hard. We don't just see the present, we see the future. And we see how we're going to move from the present to the future.
All right.
So what we do in 2008 is we go to the streets.
Yes.
When our people are talking about Barama, we say why, right? And when our people say why, then we begin to educate our people about what the real problem is. The real problem is not that you don't have a dark-skinned person in the White House. That don't mean you got to discourage the people. If they want to vote for Barama, let them vote for Barama. But one or two things are going to happen, and we got to be ready for it. We got to prepare the people for it. Either he's going to lose or he's going to win, right? Actually, it's a little easier if he loses, right? But the truth will even be more told if he wins. Because if he wins, we're going to see that we didn't get what we were looking for.
Yes.
What you got to do is not to be so concerned about whether you for or against Obama. You got to be concerned about whether you for or against liberation. You got to help. You got to help. You got to help define liberation. You got to break down liberation to its most concrete term. You can't let people think that it's liberation because you get $1,000 tax deduction, right? You can't let people buy that. You got to tell people that we are oppressed people and we need liberated land. That's what we need. We need to dismantle the empire. This is what you suggest to people. Brock is right. We need to do it from the bottom up. Tell people that. He's right. We told him that, and he's right? You got to go from the bottom up. But look, you got to tell. Every now and then, he wavers on this now. But every now and then, he'll slip forward and say, it ain't me, it's y'all. Remember? He'll say that, won't he? Oh, yeah. That's where we come in, right? Ain't me, it's y'all. Yeah, that's right. It ain't him, it's us, right? It's us and all of us. We make the decisions. And it don't make any difference who's in office. We make the decisions, right? And so what we have to do is to build a concrete, brick by brick understanding in our population of what real liberation is. Don't let them stop short of liberation. Don't let us stop short of liberation. This is what we have to do. And so no matter who wins the election, if Barack loses it, then we're going to say that whoever got in is just nothing but another representative of imperialism. Right. Plus that little dark-skinned guy that was trying to get in, you wouldn't even let him in. Shows how bad you are, right? That's what we're going to say. And we're going to begin to build this movement. And if he gets here, we're going to say, well, let's see. Didn't work with him. If it can't work with him, then it can't work at all, right? And this is what we know. Now, some people don't want to accept this. They say, well, y'all too pessimistic. Y'all can't get involved with the audacity of hope. Look, let me tell you something. If we didn't have faith, we wouldn't still be here. Let me tell you what real discomfort is when you're in a struggle.
Yes.
Real discomfort is not getting in a debate with Hillary Clinton and her talk about you a little bit. That's not real discomfort. Real discomfort is not having these nitwits get on TV and talk about you, Fox News. Real discomfort is cops sticking guns in your chest.
Yes.
Real discomfort is getting stared down and put in prison.
Yes.
Real discomfort is seeing your comrades go to prison and rot in jail. That's real discomfort.
Yes.
For nothing but the content of their political beliefs.
Yes.
Real discomfort is hearing them talk about how Cuba got political prisoners and knowing that they got hundreds of political prisoners in their jail. Real discomfort is Matuto Shakur. Real discomfort is Asada Shakur in exile. Real discomfort is Sekou Odinga. Real discomfort are the brothers and sisters out there in the San Francisco area. That's real discomfort. Real discomfort is Fred Hampton. That's real discomfort. Real discomfort is Malcolm. That's discomfort. a problem, but we're still here. And only because we not only think or hope that we could win, we know we can win.
That's right.
And if we couldn't win, then the system wouldn't be about this imagination, this innovation that they're about right now. They need Barack Obama in this race. Even if you don't win, they're going to come back and tell y'all, see what we did for y'all? We let you almost get a president. That's what they're going to say. And you're going to say, yeah. No, you ain't going to say that. But some of the knuckleheads that they put on Fox News and CNN to speak for you will say that. Yeah, it's good, and we going to go, no, but look, no, it ain't good. The only thing good is the ultimate liberation of our people.
Yeah.
So let me say two things in closing, because I know we got other very important messages to be heard here. Is let's understand the parameters of what is happening. Let's understand imperialism. Let's understand that the only opposite of imperialism is decolonization and national liberation. There's nothing short of that. You can't take the American house and paint it black and expect it to be all right. That just don't work. I mean, it's just like your house when it starts falling apart. You put a new fresh paint job on it and think you're going to be all right and the rats and roaches are still up in there with you, right? That don't work. The foundation is bad. The house got to come down.
Got to come down. That's right.
And I know there's some biblical scholars out there other than me. I know there's a passage out there that goes with that, right? Something about tearing the temple down. Right? But that's the piece. So the house got to come down. And not only do we entitled to self-determination, Native Americans are entitled to self-determination. Mexicans are entitled to self-determination. And you need to stop being ignorant. Oh, Mexicans coming in to take my job. If it was your job, then you wouldn't be losing, right? What the hell are you talking about? It was the white man's job. He let you have it until somebody came that would do it cheaper and he gave it to them. Problem is not the Mexican, the problem is the white man. The white system, the structure. Get me straight. And I'm all right, because that's what we mean when we say white man, right? That's what we mean. So we go for self-determination not only for ourselves, but for everybody.
That's right.
Everybody. It's our view in the New African People's Organization, the Malcolm X grassroots movement, that has to be in very specific, concrete terms of liberation of land. That's what we believe. We believe in the unification and liberation of Africa, and we believe in the liberation of every place that's black in this world that has a sufficient number of black to control that land. Right? We don't think the 50 states are safe. In fact, we don't even like it, right? They're all stolen. They're all put together. A lot of us have been the victims of confidence games. Just like the Soviet Empire fell apart, the American Empire can fall apart. We got to have the right will, the right determination. So I live in Jackson, Mississippi. When I walk out in the street, I can walk for miles and miles and miles and miles. I'll see nothing but black folks. I'll see nothing but black folks. I can go south. I'll go for miles and miles and miles and miles. I'll see nothing but the rhythm and the blues, right? Or the blues. The people who buy the most are black. The people who work the most are black. Every now and then you'll see a knucklehead in office who's a black mayor or something like that. He's probably just a knucklehead, but he's still in office, right? And if I walk over the border and go to Louisiana, I'll see the same thing, because you know what I'm in? I'm in the black belt. I'm in the African black belt. That's where I'm at. And if I go, a little east over to Alabama, I'll be right where my mama was born, in the same kind of situation. So what we do in the South, and we want you to support us on this, we work for the liberation of the African nation in the South. The part of the African nation in the South. I'm not going to get in an argument about nation because I think I want one Africa, one nation too.
Yes.
We got some work to do though.
That's right.
We got some work to do. We have to understand that even before colonialism, there were different, they call them tribes, I call them nations. They don't want to respect you, so that's why they call them tribes. So it was, one Africa is in a process of becoming. And we have to make it one Africa, whether it's here or whether it's there, no question. But wherever we can have state power, we need to seize it.
Yes.
Because we need to take everything that belongs to us. Everything that belongs to us. I'm not interested in having a black governor of Mississippi. I'm interested in having a nation that controls Mississippi.
Yes.
And then folks will say, and I know I like to talk to y'all, but I guess this is the part I always add to my white audience. Right? They'll say that that's racist. That's ridiculous. First of all, I ain't racist. I mean, really, I'm not. I love people. I love all kinds of people. That's me. Now, don't throw me out the nationalist movement, but that's true, right? But I got enough sense to know how power works. And I know that if you don't love yourself, then you can't love nobody else. I know this, right? And this is what I believe. I believe that we can build a society that's better than the one they ever built, right? This is what I believe. And I believe that once we build that society, we'll treat everybody in it like they need to be treated.
That's right.
And the traitors have to go. Don't make any difference what color they are, right? But we need a black power state. That's what we need. We have tried to live in a white power state. We need a black power state. That's what we need. And there is no African state or trying to be state anywhere in the world where they oppress white people the way that white people have oppressed us, right?
That's right.
And we want to make it even better than all that. Because ultimately, it's not a battle of arms. It's a battle of ideas. Ultimately, it's not even a battle of races. Although races are very profoundly involved in this battle, to define it at this time. But ultimately, it's a battle of ideas.
Indeed.
And the idea that we have is that we can have self-determination for African people. And we can stand next to Mexico in the United Mexico, North and South.
That's right.
And we can stand next to Mexico and we can vindicate the rights and fight for the rights of the Native American wherever they arise. And we can have Native American nation. And we can even overturn this atrocity that they call the American Empire. We call the American Empire. And that even in the American Empire, once it is transformed, that people who live in New Jersey or wherever they live, right? They can live under a socialist system. Then I got to go. All right? Okay. I'm a good brother here. I love this brother. Good brother.